Hi everyone, Matt here. Before we get into tonight's episodes, I've got two things to tell you about. Number one, we have our very first hunting video up live on YouTube. So please jump onto the show notes, click on the link, head over to YouTube and watch the video. I would absolutely love some feedback. And if you do like it, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Number two, tonight we have Foxoff Giveaways. It's a new giveaway platform where you can win some pretty cool stuff. And their first prize is the Hick Micro Habrook binos. They're an absolute quality bit of gear and retailing for over $10,000. Even better news, if you head over to Foxoff Giveaways and you use the code BEYOND, you will get 2-for-1 entries. Make sure you check it out and have a good listen how it all works coming up now.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You're listening to the Australian Hunting and Beyond podcast with Matt, where we talk about hunting, shooting, fishing, camping, and everything else that the great outdoors has to offer. Let's get into it. All right, we've got a good one tonight. James from Foxoff Giveaways. Mate, we've got you on here because you and I have been talking off air, and I thought what a great way to have as just before you launch the giveaways, which is we got a date now, which is excellent to see. And I thought what a perfect opportunity for you and I to have a conversation, for people to hear all about the structure, the system, and how it's all working, because I've been watching your Instagram and all the socials and everything coming along, and it's informative, but it's not the same as just having a long form conversation where we can just nut everything out and people can hopefully hear everything there is. And I ask you questions and hopefully answer everything that they might have. So, mate, thank you for coming on the podcast. Exciting times about to happen.
Yeah, mate. Thanks for having me. I'm pumped.
So you and I, we spoke just to touch base and have a bit of so I had a bit of a background. I think it's relevant to say, how did Foxoff Giveaways start before we get into the nitty gritty and the details?
Yeah. So originally I wanted to, because I've got a podcasting background and it was something that wasn't hunting related at all, but I originally wanted to start like a hunting media platform where I interviewed the public, for example, about hunting related topics. Basically just advocating for Aussie hunting culture, like man on the street type stuff, touching on issues like castle law, firearm restrictions, with the aim of changing public perception through conversation. So I spent quite a while getting things in place and, because I'm a real planner and I get right into things, I hyper focus on things and I won't do something until it's like perfect, till I think it's ready to go. And I had everything ready. I had the podcasting. We actually built a room, like me and a mate, we built a room. He does portable cottages and he goes, yeah, I'll just order one and we'll make a podcasting, like a dedicated room. So we did all that, had everything ready to go. And I couldn't pull the trigger on it. I think I was so busy with my current company that I couldn't justify pouring so much time and effort into this thing if, it was just going to cost me so much money and it just wasn't the right time. Young family, my business was busy. So I kind of shelved the idea for a little bit. But I always wanted to do something like that to help the hunting community and to, help preserve our culture because, we all know, everybody listening to this podcast understands that hunting culture in this country is under threat. And we need all the advocates and all the excitement that we can have in the hunting community. So I sat on that idea for a while and I thought, what can I do that's going to benefit the hunting community and allow me to do this thing, but also, give me a way that I can get out of my current company. Well, not so much get out of it, but more, downsize that and put a lot of time and effort into this and it's still going to pay the bills because we all want to do these cool hobbies and we want to help people and that. But if you're not getting money, you're not generating anything, well, you're kind of in a bit of trouble. So I was in my local gun shop just one day and I remember looking at this new thermal that had just rocked up, and I was like, man, like I want it so bad. But there's no way I could justify buying this $10,000 scope, you know? And I remember thinking, like, how could I get it, you know, without stealing it? How could I get this thing, you know, in a cool way? Like it's not going to cost me 10 grand and have my missus, you know, dirty on me for buying another $10,000 scope. So I thought, you know what? Everybody's doing these giveaways and these platforms, you know, cars, boats, caravans. And I thought no one's really doing it in any real capacity for the hunting community. But I didn't want to just do giveaways. I wanted to combine the idea of Foxoff Media and build a promotional platform and have it all in one. And that's how the idea was born. I took the idea to a lot of mates that I trusted. I got a business mentor. I went to him. I spoke to, you know, guys at the local hunting stores and everybody said it's a great idea. They thought, you know, go for it. So that's kind of how it started. And I put a lot of time and effort and really honed the idea because I don't want it to be like anything else. I don't want it to be another giveaway platform. And obviously, yeah, the giveaways are going to be a cool part of it. They're going to be, you know, giving away the best hunting gear we can get our hands on. And we've got some really cool stuff planned. But I wanted to build something that was going to become like a bit of an ecosystem, a hunting ecosystem. So then I started approaching smaller brands because there's so many good boutique hunting brands, Aussie-made brands that do amazing stuff. And I thought, how can I help them with what I'm building? And obviously that's where the brand partnerships come in. I didn't want to do memberships. I didn't want to do subscriptions. I didn't want to lock anyone in. I didn't want to give people accumulating entries each draw, with each promotion, because I wanted every draw to start from zero, everyone to have kind of the same opportunities to get in. Once those gates open, we can all start from scratch, basically. So I went back and forth and I just lost so many hours of sleep thinking, how am I going to do this thing to where it can be absolutely huge, be a real positive for the hunting community, and just help everybody. So I started to, like I said, I approached some Aussie brands and I pitched them the idea of becoming a partner to Foxoff, the Foxoff brand. And to give you an idea that I am serious about doing this hunting ecosystem, I don't want any commission from these guys that are getting on board with us. And that's the first thing I say to them. I say, I like your product. I think you guys do awesome stuff, Aussie made, because I'm very Australian first. If it's not if it's not an Aussie brand, I'm not interested. So I said to him, here's how it would work. If you believe in what I'm building, become a brand partner. Basically, the people that are coming to my platform and are buying packages into my drawers are going to unlock, all these exclusive partner discounts. So they might give 10% off, 15%. So we got some guys that are giving 30% off, which is really cool. And I'll let them decide how much they want to, give off, because everybody's got different margins. Some people's costs are quite high, which is why they are those boutique style brands, because they don't have the margins to get into a big hunting store. So I said to them, get on board with me. If you believe in what I'm building, I don't want anything from you guys. I just want to drive traffic to you guys. From the people that are buying packages from me, they're getting, membership style perks like access to the Foxoff Media, the podcast we're doing. We're going to be doing Foxoff Media, and they're getting the brand discounts, and then they're going and supporting these smaller Aussie brands, and it kind of helps everyone. It becomes an ecosystem.
All right, so a couple of things there. You talked about, you basically called me an idiot, and I appreciate that and completely agree because I'm just doing the podcast and make zero money, but geez, it costs me a lot of money and time and effort.
It does, man.
Mate, it's one of those things that, it does make me think. I've been sitting there going, geez, a lot of time that's away from the family.
Yep.
For something like, I enjoy it, don't get me wrong. It sort of fills that gap when I'm not hunting, so I do love that. But it is at a cost, and it's sort of like that's a bit of a pain. And listeners probably don't know this, and we haven't really made it super public. But I used to publish weekly, and then there was a real big go. It was just sporadic, and that was because my wife actually got cancer, so we're dealing with that and going through all that. So that's been the reason sort of the podcast has been sort of sporadic and whatnot. But on top of that, let's talk about being an idiot, just something different, because it just popped into my head, and I just, love to chat about being an idiot. On the weekend, I was giving me boys a haircut, and you're probably looking at me, thank God it's an audio platform and our listeners can't see me, because I shaved the boys' heads, and the boys were into me going, oh, shave your head, Dad, shave your head, look like us. And I made the little bit of a mistake. I usually have it short, like I go a number one. Yep. But I took off their clipper and I put mine on. It wouldn't really go. Then I got sort of distracted, was talking to them, and they're like, shave your head, Dad. And I just grabbed it and just went straight up the middle. And so now I've got a 0. It's like skin.
You got the you got a good hairline for it though,
mate. You know what? Like, that's the funny thing is, as school teacher, like the kids usually give me a bit of stick about haircuts, but it's never too bad when I just shave it. But mate, it's gone that, but it's so white at the moment.
Yeah, you need some sun. Yeah.
Oh, mate, it's pretty funny. But yeah, all right, let's get back to it. So let's talk about, it's a big deal, because I don't know if people understand this, but when you are trying to give away anything, there is a lot of legalities, and it is something that makes me quite nervous, because I was previously involved with another podcast, and there was a giveaway that really didn't hit the sort of legals, and that's why I sort of stepped aside and didn't want a bar of it. It's a very fine line of what you can do, because the difference between a lottery and a trade promotion and the things like that, each state is different. But when you're doing something on the large scale like yourself, now I know we've spoken about the legalities off air, but you want to fill people in, because I think that's a big one when you talk about these, because there's a lot of people giving stuff away, and some of them can seem a little not above board. And that worries me, because I don't know if they are doing it on purpose, which I actually don't think they are. They probably just haven't looked into it, because it's sort of that innocent, hey, we're going to give something away. But if you're doing some sort of lottery where you're drawing it and there's no selection criteria here in New South Wales, that's illegal. So yeah, mate, look, talk us through that, how that lengthy process of working it all out, because each state's different.
Yeah, and you're right. It is quite gets pretty deep when you first get into it, and you're like, okay, we've got to have, certain states need permits, and for prizes over a certain amount of money, and you can't be just selling raffle tickets. Like it's not because that becomes an illegal lottery, a raffle. So a trade promotion, a legitimate trade promotion is, you're providing a service, or there's something tangible that people are getting. So that was a big focus of mine from the start, where I never just wanted to do a raffle. It wasn't even, it was all centered around from what I wanted to do originally, which was Foxoff Media, doing some sort of building a community for hunters, essentially, because there just wasn't really anything out there. So yeah, the legality thing is very in depth. So me being an idiot, I actually brought in, I am an idiot, but I was smart about this. I actually brought in somebody that knows this stuff like the back of their hand, right? So I've got to really build a good team around me. So I'm only one component. I'm only one part of Foxoff. I am the guy that is the face of it. I would say the creative. I'm the one that's talking to brands and talking to the public, and I'm the one that'll do the media and the podcast and all that kind of thing. But I've got some guys that have come in who are close to me that are very experienced in this field, in legalities and, running very successful businesses that are taking care of all of that stuff, and have put all the everything in place to make this 100% compliant and extremely professional, because we're going pretty big with this thing. So we can't afford to have any kind of, anything that isn't, above board. This thing's very watertight. We've got lawyers involved with this thing. We've got, all the permit structure is being taken care of, insurances, I just wanted everyone to know that it is super legitimate. We've gone to, we haven't left anything, no stone unturned with doing this thing the right way.
Yeah, so I think that's important. And that's what I wanted to sort of make sure we got out there, so that the people listening and questioning it, because there's always going to be questions. I see all the time. There's plenty that are sort of out there. A little bit different structure to yours, and we're going to talk about the structure. Definitely see a lot out there with the subscription model and things like that, so a little bit different. All right, so let's talk about the structure. And I know you aren't going to do the subscription and the extra giveaways and things like that, or the extra tickets. And why is that the model you sort of preferred to go down?
I did see, when I was first looking into it, I do see a lot of these member type draws, and I just based it off myself, basically, where, I don't really like being tied into anything. If I'm going to enter something, I want to have kind of the same opportunities that everybody else is getting. Where a lot of these member style draws, like we said earlier, they have those rolling entries, those accumulating entries. So if you sign up to a membership style giveaways platform, 12 months in, and there's been somebody that's been a member since day one, they might have who knows how many banked up entries they've got. And your odds of winning are way less than theirs. They're way less. They've got way more of a chance of winning than you do. So it's a bit of an unfair playing field. And I just wanted to give people the opportunity to jump in when they want. And if they don't want to get in, they don't have to. Whenever you want is cool with me. So and it sounds stupid because, it's obviously about the giveaways, because that's how we can keep this thing going. And that's the excitement. But it was never just solely about the giveaways for me. It was about creating this community and getting to, hopefully get out there and just talk to people and, do what I love doing, which is, being involved in all things hunting.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And I know tonight we're predominantly talking more about the giveaways, because that's exciting. And as an average punter like myself, you touched on it before, talking about a $10,000 thermal. There's no way I'm ever buying a $10,000 thermal. I'm absolutely wrapped that I've got a $3,000 handheld. Now, the way I sort of see it is, I like your model in the sense that you buy a ticket, or you can buy multiple tickets if there's a prize that you're really chasing. And I do agree with the non-subscription sort of thing, because there might be something out there that you might, give away whatever, a drone, for example. And I already have a drone, and go, well, I don't really, if I've been a member of a couple, and there's been ones that come up, and I'm sort of got your fingers crossed playing, please don't let me get this and use my luck on this one. No, it's happened. And that for me was one of the things I like about the tickets, because I have jumped in previous tickets, whether it be caravan, cars, all those different things too. And I like the idea of having for hunting gear, and especially the high end. You announced the first giveaways, the Habrook binos.
Yeah, so we're going with the top of the range, the brand new Hick Micro Habrook HX60LS. I'm pretty sure I've got that right. It's a bit of a tongue twister. So, we're launching with the best binos we can, and they're valued at $10,300. So pretty impressive, pretty cool. And also touching on, how you were saying you don't want to use up all your luck on something you don't really want to win. we're going to give people the option to take a cash prize if they don't want the binos. So we're not alienating anybody. If somebody's already got a pair of binos or they just don't really want them, they don't see they'd rather a handheld or something like that, monocular instead of binos, and they win, they can just take the cash prize, which is going to be pretty decent, as you can imagine, and they can buy whatever they want.
So I like the idea of that, because that entices probably more people to buy tickets, because if there's something there you've got and you go, I don't really want that. But I'll tell you what, if I got a big cash injection, then you could buy something you want as well. That's not a bad thing, because I think it's, I can justify throwing, 20, 40, $50 at a raffle rather than $10,000 on those binos. Now, would I want those binos? 100%. You've already got me buying, once you're up and running, I'm buying in this draw, because they're a ticket item that I would love to have. I really get that, and I like that sort of model and how that's going to go about. Now, how does it work in the sense of you guys setting the draw times? How often are they going to be? Are they going to be extended? Because look, I had one with a hunting club that I was a member of, and I wasn't a fan of how it was done. It was basically, we are going to sell the tickets, and when all the tickets are gone, that is when we're going to draw. And it was like, well, that could be a year's time. Circumstances change, blah, blah, blah. And I sort of sat there and went, I just didn't like that sort of format. And that for me was a killer, I guess. So how's your system working so people have an understanding of that?
Yeah, so I get that. Yeah, that's something I never wanted to go down that path of. We are drawing these things to give you the idea of, how this thing is going to go. We are drawing this no matter how many packages we sell. It doesn't matter if we get 10 buyers into the draws. They have to go. There's a set time that the gates open. There's a set time when the gates close. They're always going to be around that 2 to 3 week period. So we want to keep them short and sharp, keep everything interesting, keep it exciting. Nothing gets stagnant. No matter what happens, that prize gets given out. There's no extensions. There's no, sorry guys, we didn't sell the tickets. We need another week, because if you do that, you're done in this game. You can't do that to people. There's no credibility. There's no trust. Imagine doing that. So that was never on the cards. We are doing time limited draws. We are not capping entries. They're going to be, time capped essentially. So the draw's set, the end date is set. No matter what happens, whether we make money or we do our nuts on it, that prize is getting given out. That's why I've done the due diligence. I've put in the groundwork to give this platform the absolute best chance of succeeding and being a long-term option for the hunting community.
Look, I like the sense that you are very clear on the sense going, we're opened here, tickets are on sale, this is all we've got, that's it. Hopefully, like for me, I'd love 10, but I'm sure you want more than 10 tickets getting sold. But I would love those odds for the first one.
So can I just jump in?
Yeah.
When you touch on that. So technically they're not tickets, all right? They're not tickets. They're packages. So because we can't sell tickets. So what happens is people are buying the packages. They're getting the Foxoff media, they're getting the brand discounts, and they're getting the bonus entries on top of that. So that's technically how it works. And I just wanted to make that clear. And talking about that's another thing that I can piggyback off is the fact that we don't have members and every draw starts from scratch. People have better odds getting in on what we're doing because we don't have members that are accumulating all those entries, and they're not stacking the deck for the members.
All right. So thank you for correcting me. Let's break down the packages so people have an understanding of what is sort of available each time. Are they going to be tiered, different types? How's that all working?
Yeah, so there'll be tiers. It'll be set up for, all different types of budgets. They'll start from a certain number. for somebody that has a smaller budget, and they'll go right up to somebody that's, wants to spend a little bit more. And yeah, that's the best way that I could think of doing it. That's the fairest way I could think of doing it.
There's going to be various packages for people to get to. There's a heap of different things included, including discounts into, with your brand sort of ambassadors or however you want to label them.
Yep.
How does that one work? So is it that you get the discount with those brands for that period before the draw goes off? How is that sort of working with that one?
Yeah, so people will gain access to the back end of our website when they enter into our draws. So they will unlock, exclusive partner discounts. They'll receive, discount codes they can use with these brands. And so it's going to help. So I'm not giving it, I haven't got any discounts. It's purely through the brands that have jumped on board. So they decide how much discount they want to give to our customers, and that's all given to anybody that enters a draw. It's nothing to do with me. I'm not taking any commissions out of it. I'm just trying to grow this ecosystem, and it helps everybody really.
So I'm agreeing and big on that. I think that especially in these times, and I don't know if people follow the socials, I know I get a lot more listeners on the actual podcast than I do on my socials, and I've got to pick that game up. And actually, before we go any further on that, some pretty exciting stuff. I have been playing around with getting my YouTube up a lot better and actually filming some hunts. Nice. So I know this one's going to be launching, and the day this episode comes out, our first YouTube episode is going to come out. So we've, I guess you touched on it at the start of the podcast that you're a bit of you're hyper focused and you don't want to let anything out that you don't feel is of a high quality. And mate, I'm Definitely. The exact same. I am probably my harshest critic compared to anybody else. I show people something I do and they love it, and I'm still picking it apart and finding millions things wrongs with it. So this is literally the exact same sort of thing with the with that. So if you haven't, please go over to Australian Hunting and Beyond on YouTube and give the video a watch. I would love your thoughts on the actual everything. Give me the production quality. Give me just feedback. So listeners out there, please head over, subscribe, have a look, give me some feedback. That'd be amazing.
Sounds good.
I get what you're saying about the brands helping out, making this ecosystem, because I feel it's important. And I did it on the weekend. I drove down south to Extreme Outdoor Sports or Shoalhaven Shooting Supplies to get a new bit of gear. Got an AJ Productions caller and a couple of sound carts. And it was one I think is important because at the moment, especially with everything going on, I think the hunting community does need to rally together and support each other. And, do I need the caller? No. Is it nice? Yes. Is it supporting a business that's going through a tough time because of these stupid new laws? Yes, most definitely. And that was a big one for me, having a look at it and going, well, I don't need it. I'm sure as hell could probably buy it online cheaper, but I think it's a better thing for our community for me to drive 2 hours away, grab it, have a chat to the boys in store. And, while I was down there, just grabbed a few more arrows and things like that too, because with everything going on, I am very nervous about us losing gun shops. And I think that's a big problem because whether you like the people in that gun shop, whether you dislike them, whatever, that gun shop could be the one and only in your area. It could be the difference between you having to drive, I don't know, a couple of hours to invest or get supplies. At the moment, because everyone's really put the handbrake on firearm purchases, get it. Ammunition, get it again, because people don't know what they're going to have to potentially hand back, what they're not going to, they don't want ammo sitting around. It's very hard to get rid of ammo, et cetera, et cetera. It's one of those that I think we all need to be investing in each other. And, I think that's where I like what you're doing, hence you're on here, because if it wasn't something I thought was a good idea or I wanted to give airtime to, I definitely wouldn't.
Sure.
So I appreciate you know, coming on and talking about this, and also trying to rally the community together, and also with some pretty great stuff too. Like, I mean, you know, what a great first prize. I'm excited, not just for the first prize, but now I'm excited to see what else you got up your sleeve and where it goes from here.
We've got some, I wish I could tell you right now, we've got some really, really cool things in the works. Stuff that I'm so excited about. I just want to tell everybody, but obviously I can't. Yeah, like I said, we are building something pretty cool. It's not just another giveaways platform. You know, there's a million of them out there. This is something a bit different. This is something that's it's been designed to sustain itself with the whole platform, the ecosystem we're building. Yeah, and like I said, I was so keen to help these smaller Aussie brands, these boutique brands. Like, for example, I went to the Mansfield Hunting and Fishing Expo on Saturday. Shout out to Mansfield Hunting and Fishing. I work pretty closely with those guys. So the first prize, just for transparency, I purchased from them to support them. And they've been great. They're awesome. I've known those guys for a long time. And I was there at the expo, and it's just unbelievable how many good quality Aussie brands there are out there making, like from knife makers, leather makers, tanneries. The list goes on and on and on. And I was fortunate to chat to so many of these guys. We got so many of these guys were very receptive to what we were doing, wanted to get on board. We interviewed them, and I'm going to be putting up, you know, the clips of, you know, the interviews with some of these small businesses, these business owners, up on our social media, and that's going to also be exposure for them. And like I said, I'm not looking for anything out of it, apart from just help me build this thing. Let's get it as big as we can, and just get around Aussie hunters, get around Aussie gun culture again. We need to make Aussie gun culture great again, because it's, at the moment, we're under attack, mate. We're losing ground. We've lost a lot of ground, and it's time to rally together and get it back.
I couldn't agree more. One of the things, I've always had this idea, and it's never really executed, just because, you know, I probably don't have the technical skills to do it. And again, being a perfectionist, I wouldn't want to do it half-assed, because I think it's important that whatever we do is quite sort of substantial. I'd love to see, for anyone out there that has a bit of IT sort of experience and can do things, I'd love to see like a website or platform where hunters all just went and put in, whether it be tradies, whatever you do. You buy a car, a car sales rep, whatever it might be, that we had this website where you could go in, you could punch in what you were looking for, where you are, and it would bring up people around you that are fellow hunters, so you could support them. Now, it might not be hunting related in the sense that, you know, you might need a bricklayer, and you punch in there, need a bricklayer, and it gives you people that are hunters, that are local to you, that are bricklayers, to support each other. I think it would be an absolutely great way to build the community, support the community. As I said, it's not actually in hunting, like, you know, not being just I'm going to support the local gun shop. I'm going to support my fellow hunter, and hell, if he's getting more business out of that, his small business is growing because of it, that money's going to go back into hopefully the gun shop anyway. So it's sort of that, you know, that's circular system where that money and everything is staying within it to support each other, because I think there needs to be something along those lines. And I've sort of toyed with the idea for a long time, but, you know, not being a website designer, not knowing how you could store the data and things like that and put it all together, it's probably somebody who has a far greater experience than I do in that space. And as I said, there's someone out there, reach out. I've got some ideas about it. If you didn't want to just pick up and run with it either, it's not something I'm sort of keeping to my chest and being secret squirrel about it. I'd just love to see it up there and running.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important that if you have the ability to do something like that, then it is probably going to grow the community as a side effect, if that makes sense. And that would be a win for all of us on top of it. Even if it wasn't a small business, even if, as I mentioned before, a car salesman. But, if you're looking for that car, you go in and do it through him so he gets a number and, might keep his job longer or, makes a little bit of commission or whatever it might be. I think that's a really good opportunity for people there, because I think that's one of the things I love about the hunting community is the vast majority of people are really good people and they're willing to support and help and whatnot. So unfortunately, I'm so far away from the Mansfield and Fishing and Hunting Expo, or Hunting and Fishing Expo, I should say. I would have loved to have got down there, but it's just so damn far from Sydney. So I saw the videos and people down there, and I was very jealous of people down there. So well done to the guys there putting it on. I think that's a fantastic thing, just again, to support the community. Yeah,
they do a crazy, crazy job. Like, you got to understand, like, for such a small, family business, they've built something so incredible that they're able to basically shut down Mansfield for the day and just have tens of thousands of people go there. They put on an amazing event. It was very successful. Met some great people there, and like you said, the hunting community in general, they're 99% great people, and people are just grateful. They're friendly. I was handing out flyers for my mate Billy from Zero Ice. So he's another guy that's jumped on board as a brand partner, and check him out, Zero Ice Official on Instagram. And he was giving away a free cooler with 5 of his bags of Zero Ice. And people are saying, "Oh, thank you." When I'm handing them this flyer, I'm like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? So people are, they're just so friendly. The hunting community is awesome, which is why I want to help preserve it. I want my kids to grow up and be hunters, and I want it to be around for them. And like we've said, everybody knows that at the moment, more than ever, we need to band together and keep this thing going because it's constantly under threat.
All right, so a lot of people tune into the podcast because they love to hear the stories about where how they got into hunting, what they love hunting, and etc. So unless there's anything you also want to add about sort of Foxoff, let's get into your background, mate, and have a bit of chat about hunting.
Yeah, no worries, mate. We can go for it.
Tell us about, how did you start? Is it something that's been passed down generationally? Is it something that you just, woke up one day like myself and sort of went, geez, I love firearms, I love shooting, I love hiking, I love camping. Hell, we can hunt here. Didn't know. Let's go. That's just puts everything together.
Yeah, so it was my grandfather always had rifles. He was, off the boat from Italy. So he had his old school bolt action rifle. So I grew up around guns. They had a big property and things like that. So I was always comfortable around firearms. It was never foreign to me. I didn't actually get my firearm license until I was probably just before, I think it was just before COVID, to be honest. So I'd been out on hunts with mates and, held the binoculars and done things like that. But yeah, I was probably a bit of a late bloomer. But I'll tell you, once I got my firearm license and I started actually going out and I learned how to hunt properly, and I obsessed over deer hunting. And when I say obsessed, I mean obsessed, like ridiculous. And it just got me. It got me from the start, and I never stopped. I primarily hunt at night now with thermal because I've got a young family, and when they go to sleep, I just take off and go shooting. I do a lot of pest management for local lamb farmers. We do the chicken farm local to us, which is crawling with feral cats. So people that like hunting feral cats would absolutely love this place. It's quite funny because I do have a cat at home that I absolutely love, but I understand, the damage that these cats do. I've just never looked back. I got in pretty late, but I absorbed it pretty quickly, you could say.
Mate, I know the feeling. I got that obsessed with it. I started a podcast, which has taken up a lot of time and effort. So I know where you're coming from. What's your favourite thing to hunt? I know now it's switched. You said it's gone to thermal. deer predominantly? Do you get just as much of a rush knocking over ferals because you're doing a service as well as sort of, I get the deer. The deer has its own payoff with sort of fantastic game meat. Maybe you're eating foxes and cats. I don't know. Not my thing, but is that what you?
Well, it's hard to choose. I mean, if you had to choose, I like playing these hypothetical games. If you had to choose one animal to shoot for the rest of your life, it's probably going to be a deer, just because there's so much you can do with it. You can eat it, you can feed your family with it, and it's an amazing animal. They're a beautiful animal, and it's an amazing rush knocking over a deer. It's crazy. But it is fun and rewarding to knock off foxes, especially during lambing season. Like I've lost count. I used to count how many foxes we would shoot. And then once you kind of get into it for a while, you just lose count or you stop counting. But we've saved quite a few lambs, right? Newborn lambs, where we're sitting out there in the freezing cold and you see this lamb become like, be birthed, be given life. And you're sitting there on a hay bale 150 meters away, like a sniper out of a movie, waiting for this. And you see the fox come in and you see the mother abandon it. And then right at the last moment, you smoke the fox. It's the best feeling ever. And then you go over and you grab the little lamb and ring the farmer and you say, "Oh, I saved the lamb." They say, put it in the chicken coop. It's all warm. I'll feed it in the morning. And they come out and they save these lambs. It's a crazy feeling. Very, very rewarding. But yeah, like I said, if I had to choose, I'm probably going to choose deer during the day because, I'm not so much of a purist where you get a lot of guys that say, thermal hunting is not hunting. And yeah, I agree. It's a different thing. But I think hunting a deer during the day it's pretty hard to beat. What about yourself?
Yeah, look, I am probably more deer. I like the challenge. I've always been someone driven, whether it be sort of playing competitive sports or, going down the path of that challenge and pushing myself and wanting to be the best version of myself I can be. So for me, hunting, especially the deer, does that because there is quite a few different species. You've got the different types to chase, to try and knock over. Some are a bit smarter than others. Some are a bit cagier. There's so many elements to it. So I think that, for me, I think you'd only hunt one thing. It would be deer because you've got so many different species and every single one has a different sort of, every different one has a little bit of a challenge that's unique to that animal, which I think that's bloody cool. And we're pretty lucky we got so many species here too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. What would you, if you had to choose one deer species, what would it be?
Mate, look, I'm probably the wrong person to ask that because having only shot, what am I on, Rooster and fallow, okay. I've got a long way to go. So I'm probably needing a fair bit more time to work that out, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think if I had to guess, like Sambar does really sound like the challenge. Right. But then reds and the raw just excites me as well. So, it's coming up to that time. People are getting pumped for it, and I get it. Even like, for me, fallow croaking is pretty cool too. So yeah, it's a really tricky one because it just the whole thing makes me excited and ready to go.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I've only had the opportunity we get a lot of sambar down here. So it was funny when I first started deer hunting. The only ones I was shooting were sambar because I wasn't seeing any fallow around. And then, yeah, we started to, for whatever reason, the sambar kind of left the area that we were hunting and we were getting fallow. So, yeah, I'm lucky enough to have shot, both of those species. But, yeah, I need to do a lot more of it as well, but it's tricky.
Mate, I think it's one of the things, I say this a lot because I don't get out anywhere near as much as I'd like, but that's one of the things when you have a young family and, something's got to be, you got to sacrifice something. And, for me, I'm definitely not sacrificing my kids and my family life. So that's where I guess the outlet of the podcast for me is great because I get to have these conversations with all these different people that I probably never would chat to. And that's exciting. And not only is it exciting, it also keeps the sort of flame burning for the next hunt and just, I guess, living vicariously through whether it be guests or
Yeah.
people that I see that follow us and then reach out and things like that. So I absolutely love that part of it. And I sort of know that one of the beautiful things is that, as those kids get older, as I get out more, as they come along too, there's that growth and that more opportunity is going to come. And I know that. So it's sort of like that, light at the end of the tunnel for me as well. So it's a bit of a combination of everything. And that's where hunting for me is probably more than hunting. As I sort of touched on before, it's the camping element, it's the hiking element, it's the being in nature. You take away the rifle and pulling the trigger. Most of those things I've been doing all my life. And then to throw that in and then be able to be challenged by that animal you're pursuing and then get meat to eat as well. Like, it just is this sort of perfect combination. And I love that fact.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. It's like sometimes I used to just go out on my own and just go out in Strathbogie or wherever it was and just disappear and just phones off, and it's a crazy feeling. Like, I don't need to explain it to the people listening, but it's a very unique feeling of being out in nature and having that opportunity, which is why we need to protect it more than ever.
I think the big thing for me is that so many people wouldn't do it. I think that's a big one for me, is that it's in essence, it's a pretty small community. And I know you can sort of throw figures around, and I think it's close to 1 million firearms license holders across the country. But that's such a small amount when I think population's about 27 million at the moment. So when you break that down, it's under 5% of the population, which that means is a very small amount. And then just getting an experience that potentially someone else or a lot of people that you come and meet in day-to-day life, they've got no idea about. That's unique. It's something that excites me, that they will never get that opportunity, probably because they don't want it, they don't know about it, whatever it might be. It doesn't really matter. That's always a fascinating one for me, that I'm out there potentially somewhere that no one else has ever been, exploring something, having interactions that are unique to me as well. It's just, there's so many positive things. And then you talk about just being in the bush and getting away, turning off the phone. And that's been one of the things. I know I just plugged before saying the first episode of me filming a hunt is up. And it's one of the things that's always been a challenge, because I don't want to have the phone on me and I don't want to do this. But then I also see the value in recording the memories so my kids get to watch it too. I'm not going to be around forever, and hopefully it's a bloody lot longer, but you just don't know. And sort of reflecting on that, going, well, the kids could see what I did. Even for me to cast back and see that. I get why people have trophies so they remember the hunt.
Right.
And then that was sort of why I went, you know what, I might start to film my hunts, even if I don't do anything with them. And that has been a unique experience too, learning a new skill set of how to put everything together and clip it and music and dub it and the whole thing. So I always like a challenge. I always like learning something new. So that's sort of patched in as well. So it's been it's a bit unique how the whole process sort of happens and how everything's played out. But I do like the idea sometimes, it was that offset. And I spoke to my mate who's in the first episode saying, I enjoyed it, but then there was a lot of times we didn't record stuff because we were just in the moment as well. And having that sort of a bit of both, I think it's about trying to find that happy medium.
Absolutely. And just touching back on what you were talking about, the experiences of being out hunting, like, you got to remember, as men, we're supposed to be doing this. Like, we are made to hunt, right? And that's another thing that, people fail to realize, is we've become so, emasculated in modern society as men, that's why so many men don't hunt anymore or wouldn't go. But it's funny because you probably had this experience too. The amount of people I've taken out hunting or shooting or whatever it may be that had never been before, and when they experience it, they're like, holy shit, that was unbelievable. Like, we had just to give a quick story, my mate runs the chicken farm that we shoot on, And he said to me one night, "Oh, my little sister wants to come out with us." And I'm thinking, "Oh, cool, whatever, like bring her out." So there was me, my mate Will, my mate Ash, and his little sister, and she was so apprehensive and defensive about, the thought that we may shoot a cat. She just couldn't get her head around it. But she tagged along. She was cool. She sat in the back of the buggy, and the time came, about 7 times that night where we did shoot a cat. And at first she was like disgusted in it. She's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you shot this cat," and whatever. By the end of the night, she wanted to shoot a cat. You know what I mean? It just happened. And we weren't going out there trying to be bloodthirsty and being idiots. Like, we were doing what had to be done. We were controlling the pests. They were killing the chickens and all types of things. There was, so many of them out there. But by the end of it, she was totally converted, and we didn't even really try to convert her. It just happened naturally. And it's happened, with mates of mine that from the city that have come down. And my brother-in-law, for example, had never been shooting, never been hunting. I took him out one night and he went and got his firearm license. He's now got his firearm license. So I think, to piggyback off that, as hunters, it's probably our duty to be not jamming it down people's throats, but trying where we can to promote it and to get people on board, especially now after this latest, debacle with the government and trying to take our guns away even more. We need to be going, and at least if everybody that has a firearm license got one person to go out and get their license, that's, we're doubling our numbers, and that's voting power. And I think the only way that the government's ever going to listen to us, to do it, legally without going into anything crazy, but to do it the legal way, we need the numbers. We don't have the numbers right now. They're not listening to us. We need to create some numbers, and it's not hard to do. Really, it's not. You take a mate out from the city hunting, and 9 times out of 10, they can't believe how fun it was and how awesome the experience was. And then you've just created a potential firearm owner.
Yeah, I think a couple of things there. You mentioned testosterone levels in men, and I think over the last 40 to 50 years, it's dropped by, up to 25%. So there's been a significant decline in that. Interestingly, when you said, and we've always perceived hunters-gatherers, that men hunted and the females gathered, and there's starting to be a lot more research that it was 50-50.
Right.
That, a lot of females were hunting. And I think that sort of makes sense. And I think it's an area of opportunity and growth for hunters, because it is a male-dominated activity. I think if we were to get more females involved in it, that then you've got this massive pool of candidates that are not really engaged in it, that could bump the numbers up significantly. So even if it's just getting your partner to get her gun license, that would be massive. Imagine we've got nearly 1 million, and let's say 95% are men, which I reckon would be pretty close to the stat, to be honest. Imagine you could find 900,000 females just who are partners overnight to get their firearms license.
Right.
Mate, that is huge. And I think one of the greatest things that's come out of this tragedy is so many more people are trying to get their firearms license. Now, I hope it's the right people for the right reasons, but I think it's an unexpected consequence of it. And you can see the media in panic stations. I think the ABC put out in the last couple of days on all the steps to get a firearms license, like it was this, expose. And I sort of think that they're doing themselves a bit of a disservice, because I know they're not wanting more people to get the firearms license, but teaching people how and what the process is. Thank you. Good job.
Yeah,
keep it up.
Absolutely.
I see that as a win. And whilst they might put a negative spin on it, it's probably, if someone's reading it, which I don't think is many because it is the ABC, unfortunately, but if more people are sort of getting involved and seeing that, it might still push people in those directions. But I'm very much agree we need more people. And it's my hope that more people just tap people on the shoulder that they know and try and get them involved.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that about more people wanting their firearm license in light of this tragedy that occurred at Bondi. My missus, for example, I don't think she's ever even fired a gun before. She doesn't dislike them. It's not something that she's even really interested in. She supports me in what I'm doing. She lets me go hunting whenever I want. As long as the kids are in bed, I can go, which I'm very lucky. But I remember specifically we were on holidays when the Bondi thing happened. And it was in the early morning. I'm laying in bed watching the TV from the hotel room. And Albanese's up there slurring his way through a speech talking about, he's going to do the big gun buyback and all this. And my missus walked in the room and said, I think I should get my firearms license. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, yeah, you should. And I'm thinking, wow, if you've had that realization, imagine how many other people have had that realization. And that's where I started piggybacking on that and trying to, encourage as many people as possible. Obviously, go after the right people. Don't try to get some nutcase down the road to go get his license, but the right people, get him involved. Family members, cousins, brothers, sisters, your mum, whoever it is, get them to get their license, and it's going to greatly help us.
Yeah, mate, I think that's definitely the way forward for the community, is that get the right people involved, grow our numbers, and then start to be a bit smarter in not voting for these major parties. And I genuinely think that the tide is changing, and I think it's being seen all around the world. While we're recording this, there's been some big things going on in Iran, and I think that's going to change that course of their future. You see what's going on in the United States with Trump getting in and the sort of change away from the far left side of politics. I think you're seeing that here with Labor, who continually seem to be getting further to the left of politics. And now this, I guess, I view them all as sort of course corrections to get us back to sort of that centre. But I think One Nation seems to be that picking up that mantelpiece and getting a lot of popularity. So I still think there's hope. I genuinely think we've got a really good chance to course correct here in this country and not be so silly. And I think it comes on the back, if we learn anything, whether you hate Trump, like Trump, you can sit there and go, he's not a politician. And I think there's a lot of credit in that.
Definitely.
In sort of the regular person trying to just had enough of politicians just spewing out lies. Like I don't know if you caught Albanese, whether he's, he does a speech, and what I've been loving on Instagram at the moment is his conversation with Karl Stefanovic on his podcast, and all the videos people are making where they're essentially fact checking him, where he's sort of, I did say that, and then someone grabs the video and it's him saying it, and you're like, mate, he's just so full of crap. And look, that's nothing against him personally, because the vast majority of politicians are the exact same. And whether it be Liberal, Labor, they're both cut from the same cloth.
It goes to speak to the low testosterone levels, doesn't it? How can somebody like him rise to the ranks of running our country? It blows my mind. It really does.
I think that's the downfall of this political system, and that the two major parties, and someone gets into there and just fosters and, I guess even festers in that, cesspool of politics and being persuaded, and you only get to the top if you toe the party lines and do the right thing and be loyal to the right people. And are they the people we want representing us on the world stage? And look, it's critical, and I think One Nation going forward is a great idea. But I have my doubts that Pauline Hanson, I don't know if she'd be a great leader in the sense of, do I want her as the Prime Minister on the global stage? I don't know. I've got questions about that too. So, yeah, it's a really interesting one of how do you get to pick? And then the other thing is that a lot of the people, if you talk about testosterone levels and leaders and those people, they're probably the people that aren't going to go, because they're not going to toe party lines, and they're going to have their voice and their strong opinions and not shy away from difficult conversations, which is probably not who they want going through and being this sort of popularity contest within the party. It's a very unique, weird system, and unfortunately, I think that's the that's an issue. I'd love to see a little bit more where you can't have politicians become career politicians, that you have a cap. You have 5 years, 6 years, and that's it. You can't run. You don't get a pension for the rest of your life. Like, that's ridiculous. Why do the taxpayers have to pay you when we're forced to do superannuation, and our politicians, the high end, aren't? I really despise that. I think that's a ridiculous idea. I'm very big on all leaders should lead from the front and by example. And I don't see how you can do that when they don't have access or they don't experience the same struggles that the everyday Australian has. I see just all the time, you see that, Albanese talking about just different things, even if we talk about castle law, which I find hilarious because our Prime Minister and whatnot has armed security. But no one else can do that to their own families. And it's like, well, hold on, what's the difference? There's just so many hypocritical things. And I think that probably Australia and the world would be a better place if a lot of our politicians actually came from a little bit of experience and continued that experience, because you hear the catch cry, and whether it be Albanese or someone else, but just using him because he's our current Prime Minister, you talk about that he goes, I came from working class. Well, okay, mate, but now you just bought I think a $6 million property or whatever it was. So you're pretty far gone from working class. When was the last time you were actually in working class, mate? You haven't. So realistically, your experience levels have now significantly dropped. And if it was 40 years ago, well, it's a very different time now than 40 years ago. So there's a lot to it. It's a very interesting time.
So, yeah, you talked about a lot there. So just going back to, the course correction, and I do believe that the political pendulum is swinging back to our side. Now, is Pauline Hanson the perfect leader for us? No. Is she the best chance we have right now? I think so. I mean, I was chatting to the Libertarian Party on Saturday, and I actually got a bit of an interview with one of the guys there that was part of that party, and he was talking about castle law and how they're really big on that, but a lot of the other, the major parties, the Liberals aren't about it. And, at this point, the Liberal Party are just Labor light. But I really think that, our only chance is to get One Nation in. Once they're in, then we hold her to account. Then we say, all right, Pauline, you got voted in for these issues, and, you need to stand by those issues and help deliver on those. And if you don't, well, we'll vote for somebody else that will. I think this whole, look, I'd be very surprised if people continued, I'm talking firearm owners, hunters, continued to vote for Liberal after the way they've sold us out. Because there's some of these hunters, these guys that have voted Liberal Party their whole lives, my parents included, they were always Liberal up until a few years ago. They started voting for Pauline Hanson. But, I'm seeing so many of these guys now saying, never again, Liberal, we're voting for One Nation now. And I think if we collectively come together and we can get her in, I know it's still a long way out. I mean, she's boomed in popularity right now, but the next election's not for another 2 years? I mean, there's still time. She's got to hold that momentum, and they absolutely forget. So what's it going to be like in 2 years' time? Is she going to have dropped right back down? A scandal's come out and people forget about it? So I think we need to, come together as a community, vote for our best chance right now, because we can't sustain another 4 years under Labor. They will flood us so heavily with third world migrants that we'll never outvote them anymore. So I really believe that this next election is one of our last shots. And I think we have to really be careful with our votes. And look, I'd love to vote for there's other guys I'd love to vote for, trust me, but they just will not get the support. They're too fringe. They're not going to make a difference, and we're wasting votes. And I wish a lot of these guys would just go, you know what, screw it, and join One Nation so we can correct the country,
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
I've said that plenty of times, and I really like the Shooter Farmer Fisher Party, and I've said that, and spoken to the guys, had them on, but I genuinely think those guys should be looking at jumping into One Nation, bolstering the ranks, being on there to really support firearms through them. I think they would have far greater impacts than the other way around, and it's something for me that I'd love to see that occur. We'll wait and see what happens, but hopefully over the next couple of years. I think you're right. I think it's like the US. I think you saw what happened there with opening the borders, trying to get millions of people in. They were shipping people through or busing people into areas to try and win seats just through flooding. That's why they didn't want voter ID. It was a very easy game plan to see, and I do think you are absolutely right that we're increasing immigration. Especially from non-skilled people coming into the country that are then going to benefit from Labor policies, and they're going to have a voter for life. And I think that the vast majority of people are waking up to that gameplay. And I do feel that, One Nation's not perfect by any stretch. They are probably the best party that's going to impact hunters and shooters the least amount. I hope that we get some ground back with them and put pressure to do so. But at the very least, I do feel they're the ones that aren't going to stab us in the back like we've seen from both Labor and Liberal, which has been a big thing. So only time will tell. Only time will tell. But all right, James, mate, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. It's been a great chat. I am excited to see how Foxoff goes in the future. And I know the first one coming out, those Habrooks look fantastic. I'll be definitely buying a package to get involved to start off with, and fingers crossed I finally get some luck, because usually I'm pretty unlucky. So we'll wait and see. But mate, thank you for coming on. Look, I'm excited for the launch this Friday.
No, thanks for having me, mate. I'm very, very excited. We're building something pretty cool, so I can't wait to officially open the gates and get this thing going. So appreciate it, mate. Thanks for having me on.
All right, listeners. Hope you've enjoyed it. Bye for now. You've been listening to the Australian Hunting and Beyond podcast with Matt. Thanks for tuning in, and can't wait to catch you next time. But in the meantime, if you want more, you can find it at linktr.ee/Australian Hunting and Beyond. That will give you our YouTube, Instagram, X, Facebook, you name it. We'll catch you next time.